The 3 easy and practical tips to remove the pressure from sales. Hey, what's up? This is Pete here, and I specifically wanted to create this video today for those people, maybe you're one of them, maybe that's why you're here, who hate selling. Like genuinely, they're like, I would know that I need to sell my service, or I've got to sell this product, but actually I just want to do what I love. I don't want to have to sell it. You're in the right place, because at the end of the day, if you can feel confident, by the way, watch yesterday's video on how to create sales confidence. If you can feel confident throughout the entire sales process, if you can feel that that pressure has been removed out of the room for you and your client, then guess what? You're going to be able to sell more successfully. You're going to be able to help more people. And maybe, I'll say it right now, you might be able to move from hating this whole thing called sales to actually enjoying the process. And when you enjoy something, guess what? It means you're going to be more successful as well. So without any further delay, let's get into these 3 highly practical tips for you to increase your sales and remove the pressure from the room. Tip number 1, remind your client that it's up to them if they say yes or no. This is one of the simplest tips that I can share with you, because all you need to do is give a pleasant reminder when you're sat with your client that, hey, so great to see you today. I want to just gently remind you at this time that it's completely your decision if you say yes or no. What I'm going to do as a professional today is share with you exactly what I feel you need to do. Just let me know what you want to do at the end. So by basically reminding your client that it's their decision, you play to the fact that everybody wants to buy, but nobody wants to be sold to. By saying that out loud when you're in your consultation with your client, and do it as early as possible, by the way, it allows everybody to relax. What it also does, it allows your client to feel like they're in control of their decision. There's nothing worse as a customer or client than feeling like I'm not even in control of what's happening here. That simple and pleasant reminder of, hey, by the way, I appreciate that you're here and we're going to have a great conversation today about X, Y, or Z. Whether you decide it's a yes or a no at the end of this conversation is entirely up to you. And I want you to know that I'm completely okay with whatever you choose. By the way, that extra tip there, it's great to remind your client also that you're comfortable whether they say yes or no. Because the last thing that you want is your client feeling like that you're pressured to make the sale. At the end of the day, if they buy, great. If they don't buy, well, maybe they weren't the right client or wasn't the right time for them. So tip number 1, once again, is simply remind your client that it's entirely up to them whether they say yes or no. Tip number 2, sell the universal solution. When it comes to having a normal conversation, we're pretty cool with it, right? We can have that conversation, no problem, we can talk to somebody. But when it comes to talking about our own product, that's where we start to feel the pressure. And it's really important to understand that if we feel pressure as the seller or as the professional, then that is going to project over to our client, and that's when they feel the pressure. Now, there's various advice out there saying that pressure sales is good, but actually, I believe the best sales of all is where there's no pressure on either side. And how you do this is through these tips and through a number of other ways that I can share with you in other videos. However, for this second tip, instead of you talking about your product, which becomes this pressure that, oh my goodness, I'm talking about my product, don't sell your client on your product. Sell them on the universal solution. So let's say, for example, you're a personal trainer and you specialize in a 12-week body transformation program. Rather than talking about your 12-week transformation program and how many people you've helped over the years, although testimonials are good, and going through the specifics of the compound training that you do with your clients, and that's where, believe it or not, you might feel that you're coming across in a really nice way, but your client is going to feel the pressure. Instead of talking about your 12-week transformation program, you'll be far more successful if you sell the universal solution. So what I mean by this is you discuss the benefits and you discuss the reasons why a 12-week program, and it can be anybody's 12-week program, but an overall 12-week program, when you focus on it, can help to transform someone's body. And then if you specialize, say, in compound training and alkalizing your body through detoxification, maybe that's your method, the way that you help people, then instead of talking about your product, discuss the broader picture. Here's the psychology. Once your client is convinced on a concept, so for example, 12 weeks to get in the best shape of their life. On top of that, they need to do compound training. And then, number 3, they need to alkalize their body through doing a detox program. Now they're gonna say to you, well, where can I actually go and find all of these things? And you say, well, by the way, that's exactly what my program is. It's 12 weeks, gonna help you detox your body, and on top of that, we're gonna do compound training. So you've just moved from a really difficult sale into an easy one, and you can do this in any industry, you can do this in any specialty. So comment below on what you feel are the broader concepts that you actually sell. Now, the really cool thing about all of this is that you can educate like crazy and you can help your client raise their awareness to a point where they are like, oh my goodness, I'm ready to move forward. Now, bear in mind, we also buy from people that we trust. Who do you think they're going to trust to actually buy the product from? Because at the end of the day, if you've just educated somebody about the universal solution and they've reached a point in their mind, and that's what matters in sales, we don't close a client closes themselves, because it has to come from their own mindset that actually I do need to do something. So if you've talked about the universal solution and your client is now convinced that they need to go ahead with that universal solution, who are they going to ask? Well, it's going to be you, because they now are going to associate that solution with you. So instead of you even having to sell to your client, guess what? They're going to turn around to you and say, well, where can I get this solution from? And that's when you move onto your product. Tip number 3, know when to ask for the sale. One of the biggest pressures in sales, and that actually means for us as the professional, but also for the client, is when we ask for the sale at the wrong time. And this is where you probably say, well, Pete, what is the right time to ask? The logical way to think would be at the end of the conversation, but what if it isn't? There's a few times where you ask for the sale, and I'm not gonna be able to give it the credit it deserves in this video. Maybe I'll do another video specifically on this one tip. What I want you to consider is that, number one, have you earned the right to ask? Have you educated? Have you asked great questions? Have you got to the root of why your client is there in the first place? If you've done that work and you've invested time in helping your client before they've paid you a penny, then you can reflect and say, have I earned the right to ask? This helped me overcome my fear of selling many years ago, because I moved from, oh my goodness, I hate selling, to, hold on a second, I'm educating someone, I'm working with them, I want to continue working with them, and in order for me to do that, I need them to buy, because if they don't buy, they're going to leave and I'm never going to see them again. So I started considering in my mind during the consultation, have I given enough value? Have I asked questions? Has my client had a change of awareness in how they see the problem? And have they increased their desire for their goal? If the answer is yes to all of those things, then I've earned the right to ask for the sale. Sometimes though, you'll meet someone who's already ready to buy. You won't believe the amount of sales that are lost simply because the seller doesn't recognize that the client is ready to buy. And instead of asking for the sale, they carry on talking, they're asking more questions, they're fact finding. Oh, hold on a second. You've got someone there that legitimately wants to buy right now. All you need to do is ask. This tip in itself can be a game changer in how you sell. This is going to remove the pressure for you completely, because instead of going through this clunky scripted process and you have to learn all these different ways to sell, you can simply observe where your client is at in their decision-making process. Oh, by the way, it's not as simple as some sales training that states, just ask the client where they are in their decision-making process. A lot of the time, they won't actually tell you or be honest with you. They'll say, well, yeah, I'm ready to buy, or I'm still thinking about it. And that's gonna throw you off course. Instead, observe behaviors, get an idea, have you given the value? Do you see a change in their body language? Has their tone of voice changed? Do they sound more excited? Are they dropping buying signals, as in they're talking about using your solution? You get the idea. So tip number 3 is know when to ask. So there's your 3 tips to remove the pressure from sales. Ultimately, remember this. You didn't drag your clients to have a conversation with you. You didn't pull them in off the street and say, I'm gonna sell you something. They are there because they want to buy. Everybody is a yes. That's why they're having a conversation with you. That's why they're on a call with you, or that's why they're sat in front of you. And the more we can lean into the tips that I've shared and the other many tips that are available for us to remove the pressure, the more that we can move from hating sales to actually loving the process. Thanks so much. Comment with your favorite tip below, and I'll see you in the next video.